Okay, so we are continuing on with the series, Your Role in the Body. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that I've talked to multiple elders and I've talked to Kevin about it. It's pretty clear that this class, so when I originally started the planning out how long this class would take, I thought we could get through 2 gifts per week. That is very clear that that is not going to happen. So I bumped it back to 1 gift per week, and we've been flying to try to do that. And I don't think it's good to just go through something quickly just to try to get through it. And so if we have a lot of discussion and good things coming out of it, I think it's important to take the time to do so. So we're stretching this back to 1 gift per every 2 weeks, which puts this class going into June. And then after that, I believe that there's another class that a couple of people will be picking up. So this is actually the 3rd and final class on teaching. So the class is Your Role in the Body. And we'll go over this before we jump into where we left off last week. So if you have not been here before, or if it's been a couple weeks, or even if you have been here every week, this class is meant to provide a practical guide to applying your God-given gifts to help others and to effectively serve in the church body. The next part is kind of the whole goal of this, which is to stir up action. So what is your gift, and once you find that out, how do you use it effectively, and how do you start using it, maybe if you're looking for a way to start using your gift? What is a gift? So when you talk about spiritual gifts, if you were to just start Googling that, you're going to come up with a lot of different answers. What I am defining as a gift in this class is the combination of God-given talent and passion. So what are the things that you're good at, and what are the things that you focus on, or what are your desires? And even though all of us should be doing all of these things, there are those who are more focused on certain areas, or those who are better at certain areas than other people are. So we're going to talk about encouragement after this. Encouragement is absolutely something that all of us should do. I can tell you that's not something that comes naturally to me as well, but it's something I have done in the past and something I need to get better at. But there are those who are really good at encouragement, and we're going to talk about them and how they use their gifts and how they can use their gifts better next week. This week, we're still on teaching. So we're looking at this through 3 lenses. I should just go ahead and change this up there. So the first lens that we've been looking at is actually yourself, so self-assessment. What is it that you're good at? What can you be more, and how can you be effective in using your gifts? Secondly, how can we help each other? So how can we be mentors? How can we be encouragers? And finally, the church body as a whole. So we'll finish up looking at the self-assessment lens first thing today, and then we'll start talking about that mentor or encouragement lens, and then we'll open it up to discuss teaching from a church body perspective. How are we doing that well? Are we not doing that well? And I think some honesty in those discussions would be good, so that those who are in charge can make notes and talk about it. Finally, and maybe most importantly, gifts are to be used in love. So the whole point of gifts, when we talk about, when we go over the different passages in Ephesians chapter 4 and in Romans chapter 12, the point of it is to build up the body. And the point of it is to equip others for ministry, and it all needs to be done in love and in unity. So if you look at the body passages in 1 Corinthians 13, and then also a passage in Colossians chapter 3, again, these need to be used in love. So using them in love does not always mean that everything is rainbows and unicorns, right? Sometimes if you love someone, you need to provide a correction to them, or you need to tell them something that might be hard to hear. So teaching could be used to do that. However, is the point to help people grow and to build up the body, or is the point just to show that you're smarter than everyone else? I think that that's where kind of the rub sometimes can come across. So we talked about the body in the first class that we, keep going one too far, talked about the body in the first class that we did. So if you missed that, it's on the introduction class on our YouTube channel. So we discussed Romans chapter 12 and 1 Corinthians chapter 12. And what we found out of that discussion was that all of us have gifts and all of us are expected to use them. All gifts are useful and are necessary for the functioning of the body. So whether your gift is encouragement, whether your gift is something that's up here in front of people talking to them, or if your gift is something that no one else sees, every gift is important, and every gift is impactful and is important for the functioning of the body as a whole. Gifts should be used and loved, which we just talked about, and then there's 2 flip sides up here. So be humble in your gift. So if you're pretty good at it, remember the fact that everything comes from God, and to be using your gift in humility and in love. And on the flip side, if you're nervous about your gift, if you're not courageous in your gift, if you have doubts, that's okay. Keep working at it, even if someone you think someone is better at it than you are. So, with the groundwork being laid there, we're going to jump ahead to where we left off last week. Okay, so last week we talked through, again, the self-assessment lens. So Aaron emailed his answers to the questions. I read those off. We talked to a couple people who had gifts and tried to get their perspective on how they see the world, the things that they would encourage, not encourage others, things that they've learned about their gift, things that they've learned that they've done wrong in their gift, what they want others people to know. So now is the action phase. So these are a combination of things this is all based on a book called Spiritual Giftedness by Doug Hamilton. And so he presents some ideas, and then I added to them. I also stole several ideas from Aaron and David, and I had a discussion a couple weeks, it was about a month ago, about this. And so I stole some ideas from them as well. So the easiest one, if your gift is teaching, join a teaching rotation. So now, that's a little. So if you're new into your gift, the thing that you can do if you're nervous is start out as just an assistant to a teacher. Say, I just want to watch and see how you do things, and then start building up from there. So then be a substitute. Take over a class with someone helping you to teach and showing and mentoring you in that, and then move up to teaching fully. Asked to join the sermon rotation. So this is less of a time commitment than teaching in apparently a 6-month-long Bible class, right? So you can plan out when you're going to do that. If we have 10 to 15 people on the rotation, that's about 3 to 5 times a year-ish that you would preach if we did it all equitably amongst each other. So that's just every couple months doing a lesson. You can also talk to, Kevin. I talk to Kevin before every sermon that I do just to make sure that the things that I'm thinking are in alignment as he sees the Bible as well, and he gives some tips to me, oftentimes not about the content, more about, hey, when you're presenting, how about we go at it from this perspective, or, try to show some emotion, usually is the thing that he tells me to do. So I attempt to do that, maybe not very well, but you can also go over it with, not just with Kevin, but I'm sure any of the elders would be willing to go over a sermon with you beforehand, especially if you are new and wanting to get into it and are nervous about it. Teaching a variety of classes. This has impacted me recently. Ever since I started teaching Bible classes, which was right after I graduated college, closer to 10 or 15 years ago than 10 years ago now, which is a little bit scary. But I've always taught college age, maybe late high school to college age, up through adult level classes. This year, Addie and I have had the opportunity to teach the kids classes, and right now we're teaching the LTC age class. And I'm finding that is very different, because oftentimes they don't have that, that foundational knowledge that adults or people, at least in college, have of the Bible. So it's really having to go back and break down things to a very fundamental level to talk to them. And also, how to keep their attention is different than how you keep an adult's attention. So this is a way, even if you are using your gift or you are more mature in your gift, teaching of a type of class that you've never taught before can be a stretch for you and is a learning opportunity and something that you might be interested in trying to figure out. Engage in exegetical study. Bible software can help. So Doug refers to exegesis as the tearing apart of verses. I would say it's engaging in really deep study on a specific passage of Scripture in order to fully understand the original and intended meaning of the text, not trying to read into the text what you already think. So it's trying to draw out of the text what it actually meant in the original context, which is Kevin's favorite word. So something that David actually brought up to me recently was he came up to me and said, hey, have you ever heard of Logos? It's a Bible software. It's really interesting. And I went, I've heard of that, but I've never looked into it. So they have a free trial online. I did the free trial. I really liked it. So I've been playing around with that, and I really enjoy it. I Googled best Bible softwares, so really, really deep research there. But it came up with a whole bunch of results and with a whole bunch of options that maybe can fit your situation. So there are some that are paid, or some that you have to pay to use. If you're not into that, there are some that are free. There are varying levels of levels that you can get within a software. So Logos, Olive Tree, eSword, BibleWorks, Accordance, there's a whole bunch of them out there that can help you in your attempt to study the Bible more deeply. Memorize Scripture. This is one I did not like putting up there. But helping the word permeate your mind will be able to help you quote Scripture with confidence as you teach. And Colossians chapter 3:16 says, let the word dwell in you. So as you let the word dwell in you, it'll give you more. You can be thinking through things kind of as you're just going throughout your daily life. Or again, you can use it as you're teaching a class. So memorizing Scripture would be a huge challenge, but one that would maybe stretch someone who is more mature in their gift maybe. Participate in seminars whenever possible. So this would be deep learning from experts. Kind of the spin that Doug put on it I thought was interesting was that you can develop a specialized interest. So if there's something that's a little bit different, maybe that people don't always talk about or that you're just interested in, maybe you can participate in a seminar on that topic, or that participating in a seminar will give you insight to a topic you never thought about before. So again, a way to really dig in if you have the gift of teaching. Share your recent discoveries with others. So this is a way to help you practice teaching in short bursts and also help you test out your thoughts on someone else. Addie is oftentimes the unwilling recipient of this from me. I don't know what the term would be. So, hey, I just found this out. This is really cool. Talk about it. So that's a way to test out, are you explaining something well? Is it actually interesting to other people? Is it only interesting to you? Sometimes it can be hard to hear. Read one biblically centered book every month. So this is a way that you can stretch yourself and you can learn from others, sit at the feet of people with more knowledge than you, kind of an iron sharpens iron scenario again. So there's a whole bunch of books out there. Find an author or a scholar that you really like, or again, a topic that you really are interested in, and get some books about that and read through them. So if you are more mature in your gift, I would say that reading from someone who you don't agree with could probably be helpful. You don't have to agree with everything they say, but it makes you think through things. How firm am I in this position, or am I thinking through it incorrectly? And oftentimes, people you disagree with are the people you can learn from the most. But if you're new in your gift, maybe don't start with really trying to challenge yourself that way.
I would suggest that anything you do read relative to the Bible, that you do vet it against the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. This one I put up there because I really like podcasts. I know that not everyone's an auditory listener or an auditory learner, so maybe I'm just weird in that way. But following Bible-based podcasts or channels, so I think part of why I say this is because I'm not a morning person, I often have to park about a half mile away from my office where I work. So on that walk, on my drive there, I can throw on a podcast, such as, a couple of options, like Bible Project is my favorite one. The Naked Bible podcast is one I was listening to, but then Michael Heiser passed away recently, so I don't listen to that one as much anymore. But you can throw on a podcast on my way to work, and then put in my earbuds, listen for 10 minutes as I'm walking through parking lots and past buildings on campus. And by the time I get to my office, I'm 25%, 40% of the way through a podcast already. And as I'm just walking, I've been listening to something that's about the Bible, about God's Word, about God, about my faith, something like that. So it's an easy way as you're just doing the dishes, as you're doing the laundry, just playing a video game at night. Not that I do any of these things, but you can be listening to a podcast and kind of be thinking through some of these things while you're doing that. Yes, Mike?
I don't want to slow things down too much, but we have been talking in elders meetings about some of these channels and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And a number of them do offer a membership for the congregation wide. I would like to see a show of hands of those that would actually like to see something like that. If we provided a membership that you could gain access to, that would provide sermons and lessons and Bible classes and just discussion on topics and that type of thing. Could you raise your hands high enough? And once that was done, would you actually use it? So, because a lot of times we'll give access to stuff and then people just let it fall by the wayside. But I agree with Tyler. There's oftentimes I'm working on my computer and stuff, and I'll log on and I'll listen to it in the background as I'm doing some of the work. So, very helpful, and a lot of times it gives you a lot of direction and reason for thought. So.
I stole this one from David. Now that he came in here, right as he comes in, I'm going to call you out. So, David, I'm completely trusting what David said. That he said there's $5 is a monthly membership to the Manhattan Christian College Library, so you can get a card and have
one-time payment of $5.
Oh, a one-time pay. So it's $5. Oh man, I was thinking $5 a month. Man, even better. Even better. I can make that fit in the budget. So. Okay, so even better. So then you have access to, again, a larger amount of resources maybe than you have currently if you were to do something like that. I keep not wanting to put this up there because then it's making me be accountable. So Kevin mentioned it a couple weeks ago. If you really want to study the Bible more deeply, it might not hurt to learn a Greek word or two, I think is how you worded it. So if you really are wanting to dig in and really understand the Bible, an option is to start learning biblical Hebrew or Greek. So obviously Hebrew would be Old Testament, Greek would be New Testament, and to really be able to then look at the original language and to be able to read it for yourself instead of just trusting translations or what other people are saying about it. So I've started attempting biblical Hebrew. I know a couple words, but that's about it. So, but trying to, learning the consonants, learning the vowels, which are just little dots and lines and stuff like that, which is a little more difficult to try to learn. But that's just an option for you. Again, if you're wanting to dig more into it, Biblingo would be an option that you can use. That's what I've been using. So they have a free trial. So a lot of these things that I put up there that you might have to pay for, there is like a 10-day or a month-long free trial. Test it out. If you're not getting anything out of it, then no harm, no foul. But if you really like it, then maybe that's something that you can invest in. I'll put Kevin on the spot. Kevin said potentially thinking about teaching a class on Greek. I would be super interested in that. But maybe if that's something that more people are interested in, let Kevin know so that he knows that people are interested in doing something like that. It doesn't always have to be on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night either. Yes?
There's also an app called, there's one for Hebrew and one for Greek, Daily Dose of Hebrew, Daily Dose of Greek, and they have like full courses that are completely free.
Cool. Daily Dose of Hebrew, Daily Dose of Greek.
Also, a really in-depth study Bible is going to reference some of these words.
Yes. Yep.
And if you can get into going ahead and reading all those cross-references and stuff, that's actually where you'll understand what Elohim means and a lot of those words. So,
yes, I think Kevin, or good grief, Kevin, good grief. David has another comment. I'm sure Kevin has a comment as well. Yes, so there's a Hebrew-Greek keyword study Bible. That's actually the Bible that I have right over there. So yeah, very interesting.
I was going to say, you don't actually have to go through and learn the full language of Hebrew and Greek. There's ways
Correct.
you can do specific word studies to figure out exactly what the word you're trying to figure out means. You don't have to learn the entire language to do that.
Mm-hmm. Other thoughts or ideas? Yes, Aaron.
I'll give you two related
Cool.
ideas. One would be to get an interleaved Bible, and these are becoming more common in a variety of translations, but basically you have one page with the text of the Bible, and the facing page is just completely blank for you to take notes on. I have one, and it's fabulous. It could be better in a couple ways, but you're able to take notes directly on the facing page. So if there's an important word or a series of important cross-references, or I've written entire sermons or lessons out in it. And so if I have that Bible on me, I'm just prepared to do some of that. And so it becomes a record of your study and perhaps of the growth of your thought over time. If you don't have something like that, or you don't want to get something like that, or in addition to it, I would recommend a good notebook and a pen, and then use them. Because you will remember things much better. There's mine, Kevin, right here. You'll remember, you will remember, yeah, Hans has got his is nice and red. It's much more exciting than mine. But you will remember things much better if you write it out longhand and you take notes and you organize it and you go back to it and you update it and consolidate your thinking in that way. Screens and keyboards are no substitute for your hands and your eyes. So,
Recommendation.
Yeah.
On where you can get interleaved Bibles? Oh boy. The one I have is a King James, which I got from Anchor Bibles, I think. It's been a while. But if you search your major Bible publishers on Christian Book Distributors, Crossway, Thomas Nelson, Holman, and look for an interleaved Bible specifically, or a journaling Bible, that's another option as well. There's a bunch of them out there, and they're usually about the same price as a regular Bible, $30-$40.
Yeah, that's a good point. There are lots of different, that multiple of you have said, there's lots of different Bible types out there if you're really interested in a certain one. So there are study Bibles that focus on different areas. Yeah. Other thoughts or ideas? See, I was just telling the future when I called David Kevin.
Hey, one of the things that strikes me about this whole thing is we place this utilizing your gifts, talents in the body to help it grow, to help us grow. Some of you you guys are beginning to, wow, there are those tools, and this is really good, and you're drawn to that. Others of you are saying, I don't know if I want to do all that time and energy or not. That may be an indication of where your talent, gift, or your passion lies. You want to learn it, and you want to share it. And you want to share it within the body and help everyone grow. And so some of you are like, whoa, and you're writing down these, as they say very rapidly, what the name of the books and the study helps are. And you may not have even been aware that there are so many study helps and tools available. But if you have a great interest in helping others grow, and you have a great interest in digging deeper into Scripture, that may be an indication that that's where the Lord has blessed you and is going to use you in the body to help everyone grow in understanding and application and in love. And I just want to kind of bring that in, that This is more than just, here's some study tools that's going to help everybody. But it is. And by the way, you made the decision to be a disciple. A disciple is a disciplined learner who is applying the teachings of a teacher or rabbi. And it's going to take time and effort, but that's what you signed up for. You said you want to change your life. You said you're accepting a new life from Jesus, and you want to cooperate with Him, that you grow to be more like Him. And when you signed up for that, you also agreed, I'm going to put in the effort to walk and learn from Jesus, how to live and how to love. So don't just hear all of these things and not apply it. That's what I want to encourage on top of what Tyler's saying, along with what Tyler's saying. This is challenging me. You know, there's a lot of tools I have at home. I rarely crack the book, and I don't look at my logos, and I need to more often for my own benefit and for others. So you've convicted me. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. That was the whole point of the class this morning. So yeah, any other ideas or thoughts? Very good comments. If you're looking at this and you're like, that is overkill, that is too much, that, like Kevin is saying, that's probably an indication this is not your gift, which is fine. That doesn't mean you never study the Bible or anything like that. You can still do daily Bible readings, still do studies, participate in classes, but maybe just not drilling down to the extent of trying to learn the original language, right? So.
All of that can be overwhelming anyways, whether it is your gift or
Oh, yeah, true, good point. Good point. Yeah, he said that that can be overwhelming even if this is your gift. So how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So if all this, we say that a lot at work, maybe no one else does. So if a lot of this is overwhelming, pick one thing and try it. Then if that wasn't working for you, pick something else and try it. You don't have to run home and you're signing up for Bible softwares and buying Bibles and doing all this other stuff, and then they all come in and you go, why did I do that? So yeah, don't get overwhelmed.
Or find a friend to do it with.
Yes.
That helps with accountability too.
Yes.
If you have Kevin texting you every morning saying, hey, did you study your Greek word for yesterday? It's a lot easier to do it than if it's just up to you.
Isn't it Duolingo that there's like this little bird that like reminds you every day to do your study? That can be, Kevin can dress up in a bird outfit and do that for you. So.
Well, I do have something. I'll say what it is. I don't know about bragging about it. It's just something that I try to do every Tuesday and Thursday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning. I do something called Kev Talks Live, and just spend 15, 20, 30 minutes on relationship building and communication and spiritual growth and leadership principles. And right now dealing with just who are you and what are you doing in your walk with Jesus. And a lot of it's just biblically based. I break out and preach a little bit online. But it's just something that I hope is helpful and encouraging, because I think God has gifted and using me to help teach others. So that's a drive that I have. Tuesday, Thursday, 10 a.m., Facebook, Kev Talks Live. I'm done. Shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless advertisement for Kevin's Kev Talks. Okay. Let's look at this through the encouragement or mentor lens. So if you don't think you have the gift of teaching, or you're just not sure, whatever, what are some things that maybe you think that you can do to encourage or mentor or help, etc., those who do have the gift of teaching or who are wanting to help teach? If you know that you have the gift of teaching, what are some ways that maybe other people can help and encourage you, and also maybe provide some feedback if someone says something in love, to where you can say, not sure if that would be as helpful for me, or maybe if you did it more this direction, that would be better. So opening up for discussion. We have about 15 minutes left. Mike.
I'll kind of start things off. I don't know if I've got the gift or not, but I'll try. And I think that's something that we each need to do. There's numerous different ways we can teach. It doesn't have to be a formal class. Mm-hmm. We are teaching every day by the way we live. We are teaching our children just by the examples we set and the boundaries that we set for them. We are teaching when we engage with one another. And we can have conversations that go past, well, how's your day? So I would suggest to you, think about what your examples are to others. And from that, develop a routine like Kevin on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And, building a routine gives you some structure and something to work on and improve each and every day. So with that, I'll let
routine is
Aaron, I knew I'd get him started.
For those who want to try teaching, it's helpful to remember that every expert was a novice at one time. And although there may be people who have a more natural aptitude for teaching, it is a set of skills that can be taught. So just don't think because you're not good at it now that you can't ever be good or that you can't do it. And I would hazard to say that we certainly have people in this congregation who would be more than happy to help you develop those skills. I know Kevin, we've mentioned, is very open to helping with sermon prep and other things, especially if you buy him a cup of coffee. I, for my part, am more than happy to help as well. So, the best way to learn, to see if you have that aptitude or to see if you want to do more of that, is to try it. Jump in and do it. From the other side, as a teacher, feedback is very important. but honest and meaningful feedback. And so by that, I mean, when you say that was, you brought up something that I had never considered before, and now I need to go study, and that just opened my eyes or something. That's great feedback, especially when you're specific in your feedback. That helps know exactly what it was that was helpful. On the flip side, if you say, you know what, you talked for 45 minutes and I didn't understand a word that you said, that is also important to know.
Agreed.
Because that is definitely not, what as a teacher you're trying to do. The worst kind of feedback that you can give, and this is a particular pet peeve of mine, is when you say, oh, I enjoyed your class, or I enjoyed your sermon. I am never doing this for your entertainment, ever. I'm doing it for your education, for your edification, for your conviction, for you to know Jesus more closely, to challenge you, to help you grow, but absolutely never for your entertainment. If that's all you got out of it, then I absolutely failed. So that's the kind of, that's the sort of feedback that actually helps people, is both the kindly critical and the what worked well. But entertainment, not what we're here for.
So if I could just real quick piggyback off of what Aaron just said, that's exactly where I was going to go with this if no one said anything. I was just going to say feedback is really important. I go around after every class and every sermon and I ask specific people, what did you think? Did this make sense when I explained it this way? So don't just tell me yes because you don't want to hurt my feelings. But if you can say it in love and say, actually, I didn't understand that. Could you try it a different way? Or that subject does not sound interesting to me. Can you please choose something else? So honest feedback is really important, I would say. Again, please do it in love, though. There. Okay. Colleen, you first.
Well, if I tell somebody that I enjoyed their lesson or their sermon, it's because I did learn something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess why? I mean, I enjoyed it because I learned. You didn't, I will from now on, but I just, to assume that you were entertained because you heard a good lesson, I don't know, I had not ever thought about that before, but it's kind of, I think of all the people that I've said, oh man, I enjoyed that lesson. It's because I did learn. And so I guess when I tell you that, when I come up and I like the lesson, I guess I will say, you did a great job teaching, I guess. I don't know, but I do enjoy your lessons.
So Colleen's going to say every time, I enjoyed your lesson, Aaron.
Let me be specific here.
Yes.
English is an incredibly rich language because we've gone out into the entire world and pillaged everybody else's good words. Be specific, okay? I don't want to hear generalities. It's okay to say, I love you, but specifically, how do you love me? What is it that you're doing specifically? You might say, I enjoyed it because I learned it, but it's the because I learned something part that's important. Enjoy can mean a whole lot of different things. Learn has a much narrower focus, okay? And so we can be specific in the things that we do, and Jesus calls us to do specific things. We don't love humanity in general. We love particular people. I love Kevin for Kevin, not just because he's a human being, okay? And we can be much more specific and directed and intentional in the feedback that we give, and that's the point there. Not speaking in generalities.
So maybe if I could try to bridge the gap here. I think this is maybe a personality thing. Aaron and I are similar personality-wise, and I think that sometimes when you receive something general, it comes back as you're just saying that to say it. That is probably not your intent, but sometimes if you're not specific, you say, that was a good class. Oh, I enjoyed it. You're just saying that. So being more specific into how you enjoyed it or what was interesting to you, I think is what would help. I don't know if that's along the lines, but
I don't know which hand to go to.
All right.
You got it before I did.
Well, no, before we get too far away, Aaron, I really enjoyed everything you had to say there. And I want you to know I love you. Let me count the ways. No, what I hear you saying is important because, Colleen, what you're saying, I enjoyed that. That's rich with meaning with what you're saying. But as far as feedback is concerned and encouragement to the speaker or the teacher, it is better to say, I really appreciate that you said, or I learned something. I enjoyed this because, and you give it a little more specific because that's the feedback now I can take and utilize. And what you're doing is, the purpose of your saying it is, I want to encourage you. I really enjoyed that. There are many, many times that my facetious, sarcastic nature, somebody says, I really enjoyed that lesson. And I say, I'm glad you were entertained. Because that's my immediate response. And I want to know more. As one who's teaching, that doesn't encourage as much as, man, that was a great point you made when. But that's harder to do because you don't nearly remember every single thing. But there may be one or two things that were said, and you can say, okay, example two. I'm going to come back to this in a minute, Tyler, but you started teaching this class, and then today, how many weeks, months has this been?
This would be end of month 2.
How many?
Month 2. End of month 2 is right now.
You're in month 2, so we have 8 weeks.
Of 5 plus, yeah.
Or so. Okay, so I'm going to come back. 51 years ago, a guy put his hand on my shoulder and said, Kev, it'd really be helpful to me if you took the teenagers, I'm 16 years old, if you took the teenagers and led the Monday night devotional we call the rap session. Back in the 70s, we just sat around raps. We're rapping about the Bible and God. That was kind of cool, man. It's groovy. So he put his hand on my shoulder and said, I want you to take the Monday night class. If you would, it would really free me up. Now, little did I know that it was going to free him up, but he was pushing me out of the nest. So that Monday night, I led the teenage discussion. It was terrible. I would use the word, it absolutely sucked. However, he came up and put his arm around my shoulder and said, that was fantastic. Next week is yours. And it forced me to move a little bit. He saw something in me that I did not see at the time in myself, and it may or may not have been accurate, but he saw something in me that I could help others to grow, and I could be a teacher and a trainer and possibly preacher. So I'm just saying it was that hand on the shoulder like that. Now that you've stepped into it, and your first time doing it, you're saying, oh, my goodness, what did I do? What a waste of time. I don't think I did anything. Somebody says, man, that was really great. That's the kind of thing that is encouraging, to always be thinking of the person that is stepping out to do something. And by the way, if stepping out and doing it, and it really wasn't any good, and the next time isn't any good, and the next time isn't any good, let them know, or let her know. All right, that's all I'm going to say.
Basically.
What I was going to say was on the flip side of it, in how many of us have at some point or another heard a speaker or a teacher and then refused to come either to worship, wrong thinking, but or to a class because they weren't entertaining enough per se to you personally. And how selfish is that? Is that I determine because based on someone else, whether I'm going to come or not, because whether I'm fulfilled or entertained by that person. Entertain is a little bit of a strong word, but maybe they rubbed you wrong in their teaching. And that's such wrong thinking in that kind of on the other side. And what a great challenge that Aaron put forth in us to think about our words, because we are very general, and hi, how are you? Do we really mean that when we pass somebody on the street, or are we just saying
Yes.
it, that kind of thing?
Yes,
The
exactly.
whole for-your
Exactly.
talk thing. Rebecca was the queen of it, in that she wouldn't come up to you and say, you look nice today. She said, oh my goodness, your earrings, they sparkle so much. I love that color. I mean, how specific and meaningful are those comments? I can tell you dozens of those. And so those stick with you. So even in the things that we say, what a great challenge to get a little bit more specific and personable, and that connects your relationship a little bit more. It's about relationships and community, and those types of things will do that.
Yes, the question I asked was, I have a pointer. Teachers, how can others encourage you? And I think the point that we're getting across is that So the golden rule is do to others how you would have them do to you, but that's not the full. What you should do to others is how they want to be treated. So if someone is telling you that giving me generalities is not helpful feedback for me, maybe then they are saying that they need something different than that. We still have more. Colleen?
I guess I never
Go, Colleen, sorry. I was just
never
looking.
dreamt, because I don't come to be entertained, I come to learn.
Uh-huh.
So I never dreamt that someone would think that I was entertained by the lesson that I learned. I enjoyed it because I did learn. So I just never dreamt, and it'll probably come out again.
It's okay. It's okay. David?
I think what we have here is just a gap between communication between people. First of all, I am entertained when I hear a good sermon, but I also learn something. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being entertained. But that being said, when somebody comes to me and said, I really enjoy your lesson, that means a lot to me. That means that what I had to say meant something to them. If I wanted specific feedback, communication goes two ways. I can ask, okay, what did you like about it?
Yep.
I don't have to automatically assume that that's what they're going to come to me with.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Agree. Crystal? Hans is moving up so he can get the microphone.
Did you say Hans and patient in one sentence? That's amazing. Okay. Love all this. We all are different people. We all communicate differently. Some of us need to hear certain things at certain times in our lives more so than others. I can assure you that, and I'll give you a quick example. Sometimes a hug is what you're going to get because people are hurting so much they can't even open their mouths because they're going to start bawling because of the pain, or the suffering, or anything they're in. Yes, communication goes 2, 3, 4 different ways. Engage. The other one is, I can actually say this because a woman who used to work at the hotel that my boss sold, she got in a terrible motorcycle accident. I had not seen her since, and she was doing better. First thing Kelly said when she saw me when she came over with her nephew to try to get an apartment was, ha. What did I do? She couldn't communicate. She's at this point where her mind and her mouth are not working. So what did I do? I gave her a hug. I didn't try to talk her into her sentencing. I didn't do anything. So sometimes my point is, however we communicate, please do so. But sometimes you're doing well to get a hug or just somebody looking at you going. So keep that in mind.
Okay, we have less than a minute left. So Crystal, then Fred.
Okay. I'm going to change it up a little bit,
Yes.
and because we've been talking about teachers of adults, but I have to throw in my pitch for teachers for kids, because, well, that's what I need to do. Anyway, I wasn't here last week at the end of class because I was helping with things, and I want to put a plug in for all the teachers that have stepped up to teach our children. They have done a phenomenal job over the last 6 months. We had a lot step up. That being said, as someone that teaches children, parents love y'all, but parents sometimes are the harder part to manage. So just hearing a parent come up to me and say, I see you, and I see what you're doing for our children, and thank you, is huge. So I had to put that plug in because we have so many teachers that have stepped up to teach our children. So thank you.
Fred, last comment from Fred, please.
So I'm going to turn around the title of your slide here for a moment and say I don't think I have the gift of teaching, but I lectured to students professionally for 50 years. And I think the nicest and most encouraging feedback I ever got was when a student came up to me and said, this was the first time I really understood what I was talking about. And I think that kind of encouragement made me feel like my lack of the gift of teaching at least was still good enough, if you get my point. And I think that one of the things that, and so as Hans pointed out, maybe the encouragement for someone is a hug. but maybe the encouragement is to say, don't give up.
Yes. So next week we are starting on the gift of encouragement. So this will be a good bridge to do that. I will point out again, though, this is encouragement or mentors. How can you encourage or mentor specifically people with the gift of teaching? And so people with that have told you how you can encourage and mentor them. The last thing that I will point out, and that we meant to get through, is the church active in teaching? How do you rate our passion? What are some ways it can be more effective? There was that survey that hopefully people did. If not, I'm sure, not to speak on behalf of the elders, I'm sure you all would love to hear honest feedback in love about how we are teaching at this church to make sure that we can always grow and do better. But you don't know if it's not going well if people don't tell you it's not going well in specific classes. So that would just be my plug with that. All right, so that is all for today. Thank you for your discussion today. Mike wants the last comment.
One last comment. When we're talking about feedback, response, conversation is a two-way street.
Yes.
So if you get the general statement, ask for specifics in the response. If you're just taking and reading into that general response as being negative, that's your fault. You need to be more inquisitive and think about the other person a little bit. So do it in love.
Yes, everything in love. All right, thank you, everyone.